Live from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, we welcome race fans, one and all, to America's home for racing. Around this track, you will find the dirt track at Charlotte, the Z-Max Dragway, but most importantly, the most famous facility of them all, the 1.5 mile oval, home of NASCAR's longest race, the Coca-Cola 600, a 400-lap trip around the famed Speedway. Today, though, it is not oval racing we came to see, but road course racing. The Speedway also contains arguably one of the best oval road course hybrids in North American motorsport, dubbed as the Roval. NASCAR races here as well, but today it's time to see what the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge can do. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. I'm Nolan Rampel with Stefan Schlack here beside me in the commentary box, and Connery Maddock behind the cameras for today's 30-minute event. Already closing in on the final few races on the season here. Charlotte Roval, of course, where we're at today on May the 21st, round number 10, before you head on over to the Hockenheim ring, and then the season finale at Road Atlanta. So, Stefan, quite a few very entertaining facilities just up the road from us.
Yeah, it's the best stretch of the season, I would say, starting off with Mid-Ohio last week, now into the Charlotte Roval wheat drop. This is going to be a really tough track for all contenders here today. Obviously, with those very tricky chicanes as well added to the layout, these TCRs and GT4 cars really will be fighting over the bumps and sausage curbs that this oval has to offer.
17 turns total make up this road course here at Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. About 11 to the left and about 6 or 7 over to the right. 4 cars make up the field as well. In the GT4 class, you got the Porsche 718 Cayman Club Sport, the BMW M4, and the McLaren 570S. And of course, in the TCRs, as always, the Audi RS3 LMS bringing up the field. The touring cars have definitely been the most entertaining class today, or so far all season, really, Stefan. But surprisingly, it is actually over in the GT4s that favor swings when it comes to car counts today. 13 GT4 cars getting set to rumble away, with about 10 or 11 TCRs taken to the grid. Usually, it's pretty split down the middle for that class.
Yeah, really interesting. Maybe it is because it is a rather tough track for the TCR to get right. That's why we see the split in favor of the GT4, with just more people signing up in that particular class. And speaking about that particular class, it has been a Porsche dominant class. But today, we actually see something we don't see very often. It's a McLaren GT4 car that will take to the green flag.
Qualifying presently underway for the Charlotte Roval as we are racing under the lights over here, at least under the lights on the oval side. Cars still relying on headlights for much of the track lighting down there in the infield section. Currently watching Matthew Chris starting his Audi RS3 LMS around, kind of dancing the back end around through some of these tighter corners in this infield section. Now sweeping it back out for NASCAR 1 and 2, also known as turns 9 and 10, just on the exit of turn 8 as he thunders back onto the oval towards that backstretch chicane.
Right now in first place we do have Valentijos, and that will actually remain, Nolan, because time is already up.
Clock has expired here, and it will be a full pace lap for the drivers. So let's take a rundown here through the starting grid for what is going to be an incredibly exciting 30 minutes of action at America's home for racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. It is Michael Janey out there on the pole. Juan Bustamante sits in the second position. Damian Owen Harris is in third place, making the jump from the TCRs over to the GT4s for this race. Interesting call there from Damian Owen Harris. Gillian Salomon is in fourth, with Luke Fernier in the fifth position. Florian Vong Mingfitz rounds out the top 6. Marcus Drock sits in 7th, with Alberto Garcia Blasco in 7th. Alessandro Barbagallo in the 9th position, with Nicolas Danos in 10th. Giuliano Egloff is in 11th, with Will Lyon in 11th. Stefan Chazelle, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that one wrong, in 13th, with Marcel Pfister rounding out the 14-car GT4 field. In the TCR class, it is Aldris Valentijos in the first position, with Ollie Peacock beside him on the front row. Jack Sedgwick is in third, with Michael Polasek in fourth. Jack Atkinson is in the fifth position, with Riley Downey in sixth. In seventh place, Matthew Chris. Bruno Almeida in the eighth position, with Albert Perich in ninth, and Louis Mora rounding out the 24-car field and the 10-car TCR field for tonight's race. So, Stefan, 24 cars once again getting set to rumble to life here at this beautiful, beautiful road course. And once again, we are in for quite the show tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. And already teased you guys with that 570S that we have here today. If you want to keep an eye out for that, the driver behind the wheel of that McLaren is Will Lyon. The number 15 that will be starting in 12th place. A little bit of an underdog story. Will be really interesting to see how well that McLaren can perform today.
You mentioned it was a mainly Porsche-dominated field, and you are, of course, correct. Porsche is definitely the car of choice for a lot of drivers so far this season. But as you also pointed out, there is one McLaren 570S out there on the grid today, and that is driven by Will Lyon. Now, this is even more unusual here, Stefan, because usually it's a lone BMW that we see, and the McLarens don't tend to make an appearance at all. This is really one of the first races all season long where we haven't seen a BMW present. I believe this is only about the third race or so where we haven't seen one of those Beamers present.
Yeah, this is only the second race that we actually see a McLaren here, so quite honestly, I thought we were actually going to see some BMWs make it to the grid here today, but apparently just not good enough. So it is even more strange to see that 570S here because of his... it's not really an incapability of being able to turn, it's more like it just doesn't choose to turn.
So I'll have to wait and see here just how this race will play out. Of course, it's a long 30 minutes of racing action that these guys are going to get set for. I believe the estimated number of laps they're going to be running here is going to be roughly 20 to 21, kind of within that range there is kind of what our projected standings are saying here. So it should be a very exciting several laps here that we're going to be seeing for these drivers. I am noticing as well that the TCRs, they're right up back there with the GT4s. Usually you see some class separation of about 4 to 5 seconds. That is not the case, though, today, it would seem. Look at how close they are to that GT4 field. So it's an interesting call again there from Valentillejos over there on the pole position for the TCRs. He's the one that, of course, judges how close they can be to those cars up in front.
Yeah, I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that the TCRs will have a really awkward starting point nonetheless, and he really wants to get that nice advantage over second place, but obviously that does put you quite a bit into danger of running into the back of some crashes that might happen in the first few corners throughout the GT4 field with those very, very cold tires. Look at that, he nearly runs into the back of the last car in GT4s there on the background.
So now the GT4s are going to get themselves stacked up with the rest of the field here, and looks as though Valentillejos is going to be right up behind them. So no class separation. Very, very unusual to see here the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Definitely breaking away from the normal multi-class starts that we tend to see. We'll have to see what this will mean, though, for these drivers at the start. Of course, this means the GT4's best up. TCRs is just that much closer to danger. Pace car pulls off in the hands of Michael Janey, who launches as they enter the front stretch chicane, already as well clear of Bustamante as they cross over the start-finish line. We are running away for the Charlotte Roval. Damien Harris defending hard for the third position. Sullivan trying to fight this one round the outside of turn number 1. Can he get it done, though? No, he cannot. Oh, Sullivan's loose, though, and tags the wall on the left side of the racetrack. And apart from that, though, looks like we're all clean through turn number 1. Side by side for the GCRs, but one of the GT4s dropped well back. That was Pfister that has fallen back right into the middle of the TCR field. For now, though, we're still all clean and green.
Yeah, the side by side you saw that was actually first place, or rather second place TCR fighting their side by side with the last place GT4. And even Valentillejos, he did get caught out by the back end of the GT4 field on that start because of the GT4 that we have here in the form of Marcel Pfister. He got held up behind him, and that's how he lost the start, the first place right at the start.
So a lot of really fierce battles here in the early going here. Definitely not helped by how close these TCRs are to the GT4s. This is why they tend to definitely like to be further out in front. And now Pfister goes way down the inside of all these GT4 cars at the 20 car. Oh, and 2 cars going to go off. There goes Pfister sliding into shot, and another Porsche is off as well. That's the number 14 car, I believe, of Alberto Garcia Blasco. So 2 GT4s both running too deep into the chicane from the looks of things. That will put us for our first major incident on the day. We'll take a look at what happened to Blasco first. From this area shot, you should be able to see what happens to that other GT4 car right in the back as well.
Oh, got a shove there, that 14. That might have been a touch going into there, and that was the 20 of Fister, also making it way too deep into the backside chicane. So really interesting stuff happening there, as we have another yellow flag there in turn 4. Seems like another.
That's Gillian Salomon.
Fun around.
And he reverses that one up into the runoff area there. That was a very wise move of Salomon. He was stopped in an incredibly treacherous part of the racetrack. He nearly got struck several times. He was even flashing the headlights, trying to warn drivers just behind him that he was stopped. It was a salesman all on his own for the Frenchman, and you'll see here as he faces counter course here, and this is one of the worst places you can be stopped. And you can see he's already flashing those headlights, trying to warn drivers behind, and now he just throws it into reverse and guns it backwards, trying to get out of people's way. That was some great driving. I mean, usually throwing the car to reverse when you've already stopped the track is not what you want to do, but in that situation, that was about the best thing he could have done to make sure that didn't end up worse.
Yeah, and also you have to give it to Salomon, because that is about the first spin I see through turns 3 and 4 that did not end outside of the barrier. So great job on Gillian to keep that car together.
The first 2 racing laps are complete. Juan Bustamante continues to lead this race with the number 5 car out there in first, pulling a little bit of a gap over Damien Owen Harris, who is now up to second after the spins and some of the struggles earlier on. Michael Janey is trying to hunt down that number 4 car sitting just behind him. It is an incredibly tight GT4 field here today. So it's honestly a bit of a surprise to see that we have not been seeing so much of these various battles here in the TCR. That's usually where all the action is at. That does not seem to be the case though here today.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit weird that the first place driver in qualifying for the very first time, I nearly think, isn't really able to keep up whatsoever with the leader right now of the race. So Michael Janey seems to have all the pace in qualifying, but not so much in the race. But let's see how this continues to develop throughout these 30 minutes here before us.
Some drivers tend to set their cars up more for qualifying, so they're good on the short lap sprints, but they're definitely not good at the long run sprints. You can see this battle here really heated up. This is where the TCR race lead. Valentiejo is trying to retake the race lead from Ollie Peacock, who must have taken this lead away at some point during all of the melee just before. These guys, I believe, they're having a pretty good scrap out of themselves here, so these guys definitely, no doubt, they're going to be looking strong here going forward. Looks like Matthew Crisp has had a problem as well. He is out of the race car. He is currently sitting there on the pit lane, so Matthew Crisp, not sure what has happened to him. Some kind of issue for him. No spin from what I can see. Possibly a technical failure on Matthew Crisp's part, but he is now effectively out of the race. That's why he was on the top of the leaderboards for just a few moments there. Now, though, he's going to be cycled down to his proper spot on the running order is.
Yeah, most definitely seems like he had a hardware failure of some sort. Hopefully not too expensive for him there. But yeah, he is most definitely out of this race sadly.
Valentiejo certainly pressuring the back end of Ollie Peacock, trying to look for the outside line here potentially as they come themselves up. He's going to try to go for the order of under as they approach turn 7 and 8. Now diving through the apex of 8 back onto NASCAR 1, also known as turn 9. But it looks as though Ollie Peacock got a much better drive off of turn number 8 there onto the back straightaway. So he will definitely be able to keep this spot coming down into turn number 11 here for that backstretch chicane. There is another battle just behind these guys as well for 3rd and 4th. We can kind of keep an eye on both battles here in the same shots, which is definitely what you want to see. Being able to keep an eye on 2 different battles at once, keeping tabs on everything going on around the racetrack as well. Really, these are kind of the only battles you got around the racetrack right now. I know 2nd and 3rd GT4s are pretty close as well, as is Nicolas Danos and Alessandro Barbagallo, which is 9th and 8th out there on the racetrack. But nobody's really been elected to make the big moves and swap positions yet.
And that just speaks for the nature of the Charlotte road course. It looks a little bit easy on the paper. It is also quite easy to drive, but it's really hard to overtake, even though we have those really hard braking zones. It's just in the way that these chicanes work, it's really hard to pass because they're so tight and so slow. Just doesn't make it really worth to have a great dive in there. But the thing is, it's not worth it most of the times, but it most definitely is a very, very tempting thing. And I think that's what we're most definitely going to see coming to the closing stages of this race in about 20 minutes time.
I think the race is now kind of at the point where things are going to tend to settle out a little bit more. We're not going to be seeing as much side-by-side actions, and that's fair to say as well. Though, although that I say that, second place is about to heat on up here. Damian Harris lets through Michael Janey. Interesting call for the 4 car to let through Michael Janey down to the inside line there. Damian Harris, he was doing a good job of trying to fend him off. That's a bit of an interesting call that just let her through so early on in the race.
The two teammates there swapping positions. I think it has something to do with the hanging right side mirror of the number 4 car there of Damian Harris. Maybe he did struck the wall outside of, what is that, turn 7 I think, back onto the oval again. Turn 7, 8, that transition. We have seen a lot of cars in practice sessions that have hit that barrier and did get away with a little bit of damage.
A couple of minor scrapes and bruises, nothing that these GT4 machines can't handle. Long Beach was definitely a very good example of just how much abuse these cars can take when they strike one of the walls like these guys can so often do. Battle is on, potentially for third. I say that Cedric just pulls ahead by a big gap there. Polasek was looking for the inside, but no dice for him. So second and first place in that class is starting to pick up as well. It's worth noting that you do have Jillian Salomon in the 13 car trying to dart his way through the GT4 field as well, trying to make up lost time. So he could potentially have a pretty big impact here on this battle for the TCR race lead as he is starting to reel these guys in down these straightaways.
Yeah, really interesting how much fast track Cedric is there. Oh, something happening. Peacock.
That's Ollie Peacock. That was your TCR race leader as well, now down in 6th position. So something has gone wrong for the number 6 car. It looks like you might have just overshot the chicane. It's very easy to do, especially in these front-wheel drive cars. Let's take a look back at the race spot replay. So down the back straightaway, he is being pressured big time by Valentillejos down into the chicane. Oh, takes too much curb and just swings it out wide and clobbers the barriers. So just an honest impact there for Ollie Peacock. He's got a lot of time he's got to make up now, but he is coming down pit road. So that car clearly broken for the number 6 machine, and that is definitely going to be detrimental to Peacock's race here. He is not having a fun time tonight at the Charlotte Roval.
Nolan, I honestly have to say, I think he had a wheel freeze or something, because his steering wheel did not move another centimeter more to the right than 90 degrees. So I wonder if that was another case of the no more wheelie for you, and another retiree probably of this race.
Salomon has caught 3rd and 2nd place. You see him in the bright green GT4 machine just behind. He is definitely going to try to look for the outside line and potentially on Michael Polasek. Now, it is important to note, these guys are on the same lap. So in terms of overall track position, Salomon is fighting these TCRs ahead of their position. They do not have blue flags. They do not need to let that 13 car by, especially if they're in their own little battle. So Salomon, considering he's not fighting anybody really, he is going to have to be patient here to try to work his way through. He's going to look at the outside there. Oh my goodness! The TCR and Polasek tried to cut him off. Not pleased at all with how the 13 car was handling the traffic there. That has really cost Polasek a lot of time up to the cars in front, and he is flashing his headlights furiously, not pleased at all with Salomon, as Salomon continues to try to run down 2nd and 1st place now in the TCRs.
Yeah, that was most definitely quite spicy there from Salomon. Wonder what he's going to do with our 2 leaders now right ahead of him. One more thing I have to add here to Ollie Peacock. I have to stand corrected. Ollie Peacock broke his suspension over the stage curbs.
5th place heated on up. That was Egloff that went down onto the apron to try to get past Luc Fournier, and he's going to make that one work down into the backstretch chicane of turn number 11. What kind of a move was that, though, from Egloff? I mean, I know passing on the apron is one thing, but that was a whole new level. So Egloff not wanting to wait around, it would seem, not wanting to do the traditional way. Track limits, hello, anybody. Now, Fournier, can he try to maybe cut back into the front stretch chicane? No, he cannot, but that 7 car was looking really spicy there for a minute as we took a look at the race spot replay. They haven't got that pass done.
I wonder if I wonder right now what the actual rules of iRacing say concerning passing on the apron, or even just attempting to pass on the apron. has to be careful to not do that one more time, because that might potentially be something that could harm his career for the next week.
I don't think there are any rules about that, funnily enough. I mean, you don't really gain a lot of time when you go down there. You burn up your stuff a lot more for sure. So I don't think iRacing has any rules. If it doesn't give you a slowdown penalty, fair game. And you can see Damien Harris really straddling that line as well, trying to use the transition there to kind of help the car turn a bit faster. He's trying to keep Florian von Minkwitz at bay in the battle for third place. So the GT4 class seems to be where a lot of the action is tonight.
Yeah, most definitely is a quiet race for the TCRs, but the GT4's up to the task and most definitely providing great racing. And also, I'm really starting to wonder what happened here with Damien Harris. It most definitely seems like he has got away with quite some damage. Oh, another hit right there on screen from Damien Harris on the outside wall. It seems like his car does suffer from damage that he did sustain early on in this race, as he's most definitely having issues to keep even up with his teammate, that is Michael Yanni, who is, I think, starting to close in to a leader of Juan Bustamante.
And you can see the right mirror as well is kind of hanging off of the machine as well. So Harris has taken a couple of hits. There was already hanging off even before that most recent hit. So not the first time he's clouded the right side of that machine. So potentially damage that Harris is trying to work with, potentially just outright pace as well. Damien Harris, apart from his TCR run at Long Beach, has not really ever been able to get close enough to get a win up into the books. And this is the first time he's seen with the GT4s all season long. So this is definitely a surprise to see Damien Harris making that sudden switch. Take a look back here at Florian von Minkwitz trying to run down your third place driver. I believe von Minkwitz is one of those drivers that we have been seeing consistently in the GT4s all race long. So as this race develops, we could see him really pressuring Harris for that final podium position.
Yeah, for Harris, not even his wing mirrors hanging off, but also his complete right side looks like tinfoil crumpled up and then stretched out again. Quite the sight to see as well. Now, please do correct me, but I think this also is the very first time we see these cars race in the night this season.
You are correct. First time we were seeing the night race, and gosh, these cars just look so beautiful in the dark as well. You can see up front, Damien Harris taking a much wider line there, for I believe that was turn number 3, and out through 4. Turns 3 and 4 are some of the biggest momentum corners you can find out there on the track. That, along with 5, 6, and 7. This infield section is a track where you really need to make sure that you can carry the momentum as best as you possibly can. If you don't know how to carry the momentum with your car through these corners, you're not going to get very far. And I think Damien Harris might just barely clip the barrier again there, just between 7 and 8. These guys, he's starting to back them up into Julian Egloff in the 5th place position, along with Luc Fernier as well in 6th. So these guys are definitely starting to get some competition from behind. So I have a feeling here, Minkwitz is going to have to make this move soon here if he wants to stop being held up by Damien Harris.
Yeah, the Harris train is starting to form. There's starting to be also some flashing going on there. I think that was from Egloff, flashing all the way up to Minkwitz and Harris. Yeah, it's going to be a really tough challenge though for Minkwitz. It doesn't seem like he has that much more pace than Harris right now. And at a track like Charlotte Roval, you really need a lot of headspace in your pace to be able to facilitate that pass effectively.
It's a hard track to pass. We're not really seeing a whole lot of, side-by-side battles so far this race. Definitely very unlike previous races that we've been seeing so far this season. It's a lot more processional. Of course, that is due to, in part, to the fact that these cars it's such a hard track to race at as well, but definitely one of the better ones as well. Now look at this, Egloff going down the inside of Florian von Minkwitz. The 7 car with the dive bomb down to the turn number 6. Is going to make that pass work. Out through 7, and Florian von Minkwitz in the 8, potentially get another run at Egloff here as they come on out through turn number 8 onto NASCAR 1 and 2. Now Egloff trying to get right in line with Damien Harris. Minkwitz trying to close in. I don't think he's going to have anything for him, though.
Yeah, bad mistake there from Minkwitz to give up that 4th place really easily. And Egloff able to sneak by. Now, question is, what can Graham do on Damien Harris to maybe make that first forward car finally get out of that 3rd place?
It's going to be a rough time for Damien Harris as he clatters over the curves on the front straightaway. Those curves really kill a car real quickly, as you saw there. Egloff hit the wall. So did Luck Fortner. I believe almost every driver in these. Oh, look out! Damien Harris takes a big slide on the exit of turn number 1, and now he's backed up in the middle of the track here. Very dangerous spot for Harris to be stopped. He still has cars flying up on him here, so he's got to be cautious here. He almost wiped out Girac just before these guys, but now Harris gets the ball rolling at the 4 car, but a bad mistake there from Damien Owen Harris, and that's going to see him dumped well outside of the top 5.
Yeah, and Nolan, that was simple driver error there from the number 4. Just too much curb on the inside of turn 1, and that's all he needed.
Take a ride on board Damien Harris. Has he just, he's just clipped the curves a bit too much, comes down to the back end, just goes around on him. That's how the GT4s are. They really do not like those sausage curves. I've honestly been surprised to see these guys really ride those curves as aggressively as they have in this race. It was only a matter of time for something like that happen. And you wonder if a couple of these drivers might start to take it a little bit easier on the curves, seeing what just happened in front of them. Let's take a look back here now for the TCR race lead. Aldris Valentiejos is still out there in front, about half a second up from Jack Sedgwick in his Audi RS3 LMS. Michael Polasek sits just behind the 3rd position, and then from Polasek, 11.3 seconds back to the 4th place driver of Riley Downey. So these top 3 here have really split away from the rest of the TCR field.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that these guys found each other again after Solomon has passed through them. Did split them up quite a bit. You probably were able to see it on the turn on the left side. They at one point even were split up by nearly a second each. So great job on Jack Sedgwick and Polasek to get back and fight for this race win in the remaining 11 minutes here today.
Jack Atkinson goes up into the 4th position. You just saw there in the bottom right of the screen. He just made the pass on Riley Downey down through the front straightaway, and that was after Riley Downey had a very big mistake, and he's trying to go back at him here. So Riley Downey back into the 4th position. So the battle's starting to pick on up here for 4th and 5th. Downey had a massive slide through the backstretch chicane. That opened the door for Atkinson, who got the run to the front stretch chicane. And Downey immediately cut back on the exit of that front stretch chicane and made the run work down for turn number 1. And now Downey out in front. Let's take a look back here at how Jack Atkinson got this race spot secure. They're already side by side through here. The opportunity really came with that massive slide that Downey had in the backstretch chicane. But there you can see Atkinson down the inside for the front stretch chicane. And then immediately after, it looks like he clipped the wall actually a little bit as Downey then made the cut back on him down to that turn 1.
As we have seen quite a few times already, easy mistake to do to hit that wall out of turn 17 and really kill that run into turn 1. So good job on Downey there to jump on that opportunity. And also this thing that starts developing here, Michael Yanni, I've already teased this a little bit earlier on. He was able to catch Bustamante back up into that 1st place. So we have now, for the remaining 9 and nearly 10 minutes here, a potential fight for the win in the GT4s.
Bustamante trying to keep Michael Janey at bay. That fiercely forward machine has definitely been doing a phenomenal job trying to stay nice and close to Bustamante. Florian von Minkfitz, it appears, has just had to swap of positions back there in this fight, as you saw him just drop outside of those positions. He's dropped back potentially a couple of spots here, so it looks as though they were side by side for 3rd and 4th down to the backstretch chicane. Of course, Egloff was still able to maintain the position, so we'll take a look at this fight though. 3rd place started to pick up his ball in GT4s.
Battles are starting to heat up everywhere. One fierce defense there from Egloff down to the inside, really on the apron, and then just braver on the brakes, keeping that car in 3rd place as well. But look at that, just behind the Fournier. Oh, that was even a slide for Egloff out of the backstretch chicane, able to keep that together. But yeah, as I said, Luke Fournier once again on the back of that battle for 3rd place.
Eight minutes and 45 seconds to go. 3/10ths of a second between Bustamante and Janey, and about another 5.6 seconds back to the battle for 3rd, with Egloff still headed up that train as well. Janie is continuing to close, though, on Bustamante as they come back with the backstretch chicane. It still is not close enough for the look down into turn number 11 down the back straightaway. Oh, but Bustamante has to kind of scare Janie out wide or slow down a bit more than I think that 9 car was probably expected. The 9 car took a much wider line than normally you do through that turn 11-12 complex there. Still keeping nice and tight though with Juan Bustamante. This is one heck of a fight we're seeing starting to develop here. And this is again going to be one of those fights that we see develop right down the last lap of the race. And look at those GT4s just bouncing over the curbs. And that time was Bustamante just barely grazed the wall.
Yeah, if my calculation is somewhat correct, we should be having about 6 more laps here for these guys to fight it out. But also, on top of that, we are starting to see some traffic in form of Bruno Almeida that you see just up ahead of the red, white, red car. That is the TCR of Bruno Almeida, but he is quite a bit clear up to Lewis Moore as well.
Downey has lost the 4th position in TCR to Jack Atkinson. Atkinson trying to defend wildly towards the backstretch chicane, so TCR battle started to pick on up as well. Now Downey's going to try to get the crossover off the backstretch chicane, try to get it back for the front straight chicane. Runs way too wide though. He's going to have to slot back in line to get the draft on the 11 car. Might try to get him here down to the front stretch chicane, so what can Downey do? Gonna go back down the inside for the front straightaway chicane. Gonna make the lunge, and he's gonna get it done on the front stretch chicane. Atkinson swings wide, he clips the wall, and Atkinson had a good intent, but it was nothing doing for him. He had gotten the position coming out onto the oval and had to defend fiercely since then, but he just didn't have anything for him when Downey put his foot to the floor.
Riley Downey shows how hard it is to actually facilitate a pass there. Jack Atkinson tries everything and still not able to secure the position after already being ahead of Riley Downey. Great job by the Canadian.
A fantastic job indeed. He did a great job to make sure that he kept those cars well and truly behind him. So great fight there between 4th, 5th position. Those guys are definitely two we're going to have to watch towards the end of this race as well. As well as this, 4th and 3rd are also mighty close in the GT4 category. Egloff is trying to fend off Florian von Minkvist just behind. He's been making more and more mistakes as well that has allowed Minkvist to really close in this gap.
Yeah, but the thing still is, these guys, that's all they are gonna really have. Let's be honest about this. They're not gonna be able to catch 1st and 2nd. They're all up for 3rd place. Question is, how early does Minkowitz want to start the fight here for this 3rd place? Because obviously, Luc Fournier not too far away. And if they start fighting too much, those 1.5 seconds they have right now over Fournier are gonna be gone in a second.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely something you want to be weighing in very, very cautiously here as we look back up to the battle for the race lead here. This between Michael Janney and Juan Bustamante. Bustamante really leaping his car over those curves down the front straightaway. It's a very risky thing to keep on doing that consistently. That 5 car's got to be very careful because one wrong move could see, something go horribly wrong with this car. He could have a steering arm break like what happened to Ollie Peacock just further in the back. Michael Janney swings a bit wide on the exit of turn 3, and he is going to lose a little bit of time there to Bustamante, but we'll still be able to have a lot of time here to try to reel that gap back in.
Yeah, that has been the line of Janney every single lap thus far. Swings it out quite wide there through 3 and 4, and then cuts back across to the curb and really gets a lot of speed out of this. And it actually seems to be a tiny bit faster than the line that Bustamante has to offer through 3 and 4. So good job on that team, car's team, to scout out that line.
Problems for Stefan Cazot, the Frenchman in the 22 cars, had some significant issues. He had it coming together with the McLaren on the back straightaway chicane on lap 18 to the 15 car, and then the 22 promptly crashed trying to enter pit road for the looks of things. Just got it all sorts of wrong and had to take the tow back to the pits. So definitely not a good run so far for that 22 machine. We'll take a look back, see if we can catch what happened here. There you can see Cazot into pit road now, and he's going to clip the barrier there. The problem for him really, though, came well before all of this took place. It again started down in the back stretch chicane. Cartomatic doing a great job trying to see if we can find that incident so we can show you guys exactly what ended up happening. It looks like we will have it here and be able to show you what happened between Will Lyon and will not be able to get that run looked up for you. So, yeah, it was a bit of a bad situation there, though. So the McLaren having some struggles, though. And that McLaren is also in a battle with Alberto Garcia Blasco as well to run down the front stretch chicane. So the McLaren trying to fend off whatever spots he can get at the moment.
Yeah, the only 2 spots that Will Lyon did get thus far was really 2 cars that did spin out, but still hanging on to that 10th place like a lion. Michael Yanni, in the meantime, did clip the wall there. You were able to see it through turns 7 and 8. So a little bit of a battle scar already to Michael's car now as well.
An estimated only 2 laps to go this time by for the overall race leader of Juan Bustamante. That's just now coming up through the final series of corners here at NASCAR 3 and 4 before the turn 16-17 chicane. They're starting to close in on Riley Downey and Jack Atkinson. I don't think it'll be enough, though, to catch them before the tail end of this race. We'll take a look here at this battle for second place in the TCRs between Jack Sedgwick and Michael Polasek. Valentejos has definitely pulled away significantly from that number 1 car. It's now a gap that's just over 1 second, kind of fluctuating around that area, but it's safe to say that unless Valentejos comes into some significant struggles here, that 2 car will be able to just come away with the race victory today.
Yeah, has been able to ever so sneak out of this draft of Jack Sedgwick. So a good job on Autrios to be able to somewhat run away with this lead. Although it's not too much, it is enough to keep Jack Sedgwick and also Michael Polasek at bay. So gonna be kind of interesting to also see what Polasek will be able to do here. Still about 2 laps to go for these guys, but there's not too much passing opportunities, and the question is, will Michael even try to go for that 2nd place?
Downey and Atkinson once again side by side on the exit of the backstretch chicane. Atkinson retakes the lead, had to kind of go around the outside on the backstretch chicane, but got the pass done on Riley Downey. So Downey will try to fight him back here into the front stretch chicane. These 2 guys have been battling super clean. Downey going to look for the outside. Atkinson defends low. Both drivers trying to get the over-under on each other down to the front stretch chicane. There is the race leaders just behind them now, trying to catch up. White flag in the air for Juan Bustamante. This could end up being the last lap for this battle for 5th and 6th here, because it's important to note Bustamante can't hang right away because he's got Janie right behind him. So this battle for 5th and 6th in the TCRs could be on its last legs here.
Yeah, but the thing for Bustamante in behind is that he has to overtake 2 cars, and Yanni is on the back of him as well, and not too far away. And then for these 2 TCR cars will also be the battle for 3rd place overall. So this might get real spicy right now.
And there it is. Bustamante goes to the inside of Riley Downey. That settles the battle for 5th and 6th. Janie will try to follow through as well. Downey clips the outside wall and nearly bounces back down into Janie, but so far still clean. Now Atkinson's going to have to swing out high. Atkinson wants to let both these cars through on this straightaway, so that way he doesn't have to worry about Downey behind when they get to the braking zone. Bustamante is going to have the gap here coming into that back straightaway chicane. Now, Atkinson under fire from Downey just behind these guys. The battle for the overall race lead starting to pick on up as well, but it looks as though it will be in the hands of Bustamante here, barring any issues here coming through the end of this race. So Juan Bustamante is going to come down through this final chicane. Is he going to be clean? He is going to be able to come through clean and pick up the victory for the battle for 5th and 6th on TCRs, just behind Atkinson, and Downey drag race to the line. Atkinson hangs on for 5th position there in the TCR category. Up front, though, it is going to be Juan Bustamante to take victory for the overall class of the GT4s. Jenny just behind in 2nd. The battle for 2nd, though, in TCRs is still to be decided.
And it's a good run for Sedgwick there out of turn 8. Polasek tried to do everything into turn number 8, but seems to have overshot that apex a little bit too much and is too far away, at least for the backstretch chicane, but still has one more chance on the end of the lap. Turn number 16 is where it's all going to be decided.
Valentejos just in front of these guys with the TCR race lead. He's looking set to come away with the TCR race win. Sedgwick will have nothing for him. So once again, if Valentejos keeps it clean through the chicane, all is done and settled. On board with Polasek here as we throw ourselves down for the final chicane today. No struggles from the top 3 drivers. Valentejos takes victory in the TCRs. Sedgwick 2nd. Polasek finishes it out in the podium positions. What a battle, though, for all of these drivers so far throughout this run. I mean, what a great race that we've been seeing so far throughout this one. I mean, that was some good action there from start to finish, and not nearly as attrition-filled as these races usually tend to be.
I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't have much more retirees here today, especially at such a hard track like the Charlotte Roval is. With all these sausage curbs, you really have to give it up for these guys, because they most definitely did their homework and were able to pull off a very exciting race.
Well, with all the cars across the line, let's take a look now at your post-race results from the 30-minute race here for the Charlotte Roval at America's home for racing. It was a really thrilling race in the final stages there between Juan Bustamante and Michael Janey, who finished it off first and second overall. Florian von Minkfitz sits in the third position, 7.9 seconds behind your race leader. Giuliano Egloff is in fourth, with Luc Fernier in the fifth position. Marcus Girac is in sixth, with Damian Owen Harris sitting in seventh. Gillian Salomon in eighth. Nicolas Danos ninth. Alberto Garcia Blasco rounds out the top 10 for the GT4 class. The final drivers on the day: Will Lyon. The drivers not finishing the race were Stefan Sazo, Marcel Pfister, and Alessandro Barbagallo. All drivers finishing several laps down. Now, for the TCR category, it is Adrius Valentiejos who is going to come away with the win here. And it is going to be Jack Sedgwick in second place, with Michael Polasek in third. Jack Atkinson finishes off in fourth place, one lap down, with Riley Downey just behind him. Luis Mora is in sixth place, with Bruno Almeida in seventh. Matthew Crisp eighth. Ollie Peacock 9. Albert Parrish in the top 10, not finishing the race. That is going to do it for the 24-car field. Fastest lap set by Giuliano Egloff on the fifth lap of the race with a 1:21.691. So a flyer there from Egloff, who finished off fourth place. He was the biggest mover of the day as well. Worked up several positions, started 11th, finished in fourth place. So not a bad run at all from Egloff. But what a race indeed we saw here at the Charlotte Roval here, Stefan.
Yeah, and it only makes you back for more. But sadly, we still have to wait the full week until we can go up to the next track. That will be extremely interesting. These guys have not raced there yet at all, because it is the newest addition to iRacing. It will be the Hockenheim track. So most definitely the very interesting challenge, because we also haven't seen tracks with this much straights like the Hockenheim Ring has to offer for them.
Not to mention the incredibly long straightaway just after, I believe, turns 2 and 3 that leads all the way down to that very, very tight hairpin, the hardest break zone on the racetrack to date. How many cars do you think we can fit wide there? We were having this discussion earlier here, Stefan. I'm thinking we could probably see some 4 wide action there in the opening laps.
Yeah, I mean, TCR-wise, you can fit 4 sideways in there. That makes about 6 side by side. So that Hockenheim Ring, that part of the Hockenheim Ring, is extremely wide. And if we really need to have a very good decider, we also have a drag strip there. So if we have a photo finish, we can just tell them to go to the drag strip and fight it out there.
That's true. It's a very good drag strip as well. It definitely looks beautiful there. And then, of course, you have the season finale at Road Atlanta. That's also the finale where you see the real IMSA series go along with Michelin Pilot Challenge. It is home to the Petit Le Mans event there. So that's a perfect track, I think, to end out the season. It's nice and challenging, but it is good fun as well to go to Road Atlanta. So 2 incredibly thrilling tracks. One new, one not so new, but both tracks bound to be equally exciting.
Yeah, exactly. What better way to finish off a season than with the season finale of the real-life IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge series. Road Atlanta really gonna offer something very nice to the season end.
And with that, that is going to be just about all the time we are going to have for one day and for another presentation of the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. I'm Manolo Rempel, bringing you all the coverage from tonight's 30-minute race from start to finish, with Stefan Schlackia beside me in the commentary box, and Connor Amatic once again doing a fantastic job behind the cameras for tonight's race. But thank you all for joining us for another presentation of Friday Night Primetime on RaceSpotTV. We will see you all next week in Germany.